everyone, welcome back to True Crime and Wine. Hope you have your wine glasses ready, your seatbelts fastened, and I know you probably missed me in my storytelling, but I'm back. You can hear Gabby sighing in the background. I apologize for the background noise.
Are you filming?
Yeah.
Oh my bad.
It's okay. I already apologized for the background noise.
What's that?
You walking up the stairs.
Oh. Oh, there you go.
Anyways, you guys know that I'm a twin. You can hear her talking to me right now
Where did you put
at the
my
intro.
phone?
I brought it down to the kitchen. I left it on the...
You're so annoying. Closet. Be stuffing your phone.
I'll be right back. Okay, so y'all know I'm a twin. Obviously, you just heard her talking to me in the background. And for anyone who's been on my channel for long periods of time, you guys know I'm a twin sister. So any true crime story about twins fascinates me because I'm like, what the f? How are both of you psychotic, murdering ass people? So today, we're gonna talk about the brutal murder of Nikki Whitehead by her two daughters, Tasmiyah and Jasmiyah Whitehead. Now, God bless Nikki's soul, but I like wonder why the fuck she named her daughters Tasmiyah and Jasmiyah, because that's like really corny, and they're terrible names. Their nicknames were Taz and Jazz. LOL. But again, I always ask my parents, why did you name us Danielle and Gabrielle and not something cooler, and LOL to our trashy ass names. But Tasmiyah and Jasmiyah, I'm just like, those names are cringeworthy, bro. Like, pretty cringeworthy. But their names are not the crime here. The crime is the murder of their mother, Nikki Whitehead. So let's start from the very beginning. Nikki Whitehead was born in prison, literally. Her mom was She was in jail for drug possession. So she actually was raised by her grandmother, Della Frazier. Nikki was into partying, she was into drugs, she was into boys and sex and going down not the right path in life. At the age of 17, she got pregnant with twins, who she ended up naming Jasmiyah and Tasmiyah. Nickname, Jazz and Taz. I just wonder what like the conversation was with her and her baby daddy, where they're like, what should we name them? And they're like, Jasmiyah and Tasmiyah. Like, it was like the most brilliant idea on the face of the planet. I chuckle. I hate their names. Jazz and Taz. But throughout this video, I'm just gonna call them Jazz and Taz because I can't get myself to say Jasmiyah and Tasmiyah. The names have potential. I like the end, Mia. Just not like the beginning of the name, Sa. To have them rhyme, like Danny and Gabby don't rhyme, but Danielle and Gabrielle are pretty whack names. If I'm gonna be honest, me and Gabby have pretty bad names as well. Not the best names. I feel like in high school, every single person was named Danielle, and I was like, they'd be like, is Danielle here? And like 5 of us would raise our hand. I was like, f you, mom and dad, for their originality. And then you have this person who did have some originality, and it's cringe. But I've also talked way too much about their names, so I'm gonna be moving on. For 12 years of the girls' life, they were living with Nikki's grandmother and their great-grandmother, Della. Nikki ended up moving to, I think you say Conyers, Georgia, with her boyfriend. So she was in and out of the girls' lives as she pleased. She would come, she would go. She would come, she would go. So they mainly spent most of their time being raised by their great-grandmother. They were in music lessons, ballet lessons, tennis lessons. They even did Girl Scouts. When the girls turned 13 years old, their mother Nikki demanded that they move to Conyers, Georgia with her and her boyfriend. She wanted to play a bigger part in their lives. She didn't want them to go down the same path that she went down. She promised herself that she would be a better mother and provide them a better life than what she had. The girls did not want to go. They pleaded with their great-grandmother, please don't let us go. We don't want to go with her. Please, we want to stay here. We love our life here. But obviously, the mom is going to get what the mom is going to get, and that's her children. So they end up moving 20 miles away from where their great-grandmother is. The years to follow just were dramatic, turbulent, not good for Nikki and her two daughters, Taz and Jazz. I really might just even refer to them as the twins in this true crime, but basically they thought their mom was a joke. Everything out of their mom's mouth they thought was hypocritical. How are you going to tell us how to live our life and not be on our cell phones and not hang out with guys and not do this and not do that when you were doing it all? Why should we listen to you when you got to do exactly what you're telling us not to do? Nikki was convinced that her daughters were sexually active by the age of 16. They were using their cell phones way too much. They were sneaking out to go meet up with boyfriends. She thought for sure they were doing drugs, at least marijuana. So she was trying to get them to stop doing that, because it's exactly what she did. She was hanging out with boys and she was doing drugs and she was partying, and then she ended up with twins at the age of 17. And the girls were at around the age of 16, so she was like, I need to prevent them from basically having the same exact storyline that I have right now. In turn, the girls were like, "F you, mom, you did what we want to do, and so we're gonna do it." Basically, they were 16 years old and they thought they ran the house. They thought they had more power and more control than their own goddamn mother. Now, the twins' great-grandmother, Della, who raised Nikki and basically raised the twins, got interviewed after Nikki's tragic murder, and she recalls the power struggle between all the women in the family. We had Nikki's mom, who was not present in Nikki's life. We have Nikki, who is barely present in the twins' life, and then you have Della, who raised both Nikki and tried her best to raise the twins. And she said there was a constant battle between her and Nikki, because Nikki would be like, "You're overstepping with my children, you're allowing them to do things I wouldn't let them do." But then Nikki would disappear or not show up, or the girls would be left alone, and yada 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 yada. She would complain. So you got Nikki complaining about her grandmother, Della, overstepping boundaries. But then you have Nikki not showing up for her kids, leaving her kids home alone for days or hours, and expecting them not to sneak out or meet up with boys or get into drugs. And then you also have Nikki leaving her kids at the mall and them having to call their grandmother to rescue them even though they live 20 miles away. So clearly this family had some issues, some miscommunication. I think that this all goes back to Nikki's mother, who was in jail for drug possession. I feel like it was a broken home all the way down at the very beginning, starting with Nikki and her mother. Nikki made several calls to 911 prior to her murder in regards to her children. Once was when Jazz snuck out of the house to meet with her boyfriend in the middle of the night. In the June of 2008, Nikki called 911. An officer arrived at the Whitehead home, and the twins explained the incident as their mother being abusive and them defending themselves. The officer that showed up to the Whitehead house remembers that the girls, the twins, looked very innocent, sweet, but there was a look in Nikki's eyes, their mother, of fear. Like she was petrified of the twins. And the officer remembers having like this weird, unsettling feeling and being like, I feel like this fight isn't over. I'm just gonna like stay around in the neighborhood, stay close by. And within 3 to 4 minutes, Nikki called 911 again, saying that her daughters were attacking them. So that same officer pulled back up to the house. Nikki ran out of the house holding a portable phone, crying hysterically, and the twins ran out as well. The twins said again that their mother was being abusive and they were defending themselves, but the officer says that Nikki had scratches on her neck, on her arms, even bite marks, and she was hysterically crying. And she looked at the twins, and the twins had no scratches, no wounds, no bite marks, no nothing. They had no indication of abuse from their mother. However, their mother looked like they were abused. So the girls were actually arrested and taken in. At this point, they're 16, they're still minors. So for years, they're in and out of the juvenile system, in and out, in and out. They go to court, the judge says that they're required to get counseling with their mother. The counselors are like, this family is responsible, everyone in this family is responsible for how this relationship and how their life is going. Which is kind of weird because we're getting one story from the great-grandmother and we can't get any story from Nikki because she was murdered. And then we have the twins, who are clearly psychotic and not well. And whatever story they tell is gonna be a story that paints them in a better light, paints them in a light that's good for them. So it's really hard to say and pinpoint when or how their relationships got so toxic and vile and really nasty, or who's responsible, but no way in hell that 2 16-year-old girls should be touching their 34-year-old mother. Like, it's just, what? And there's 2 of them, it's not one of them. Nikki's outnumbered at this point. That's like me and Gabby ganging up on our mom. Like, obviously me and Gabby are gonna win. Okay, my mom can, she can protect herself, but can you protect yourself from both of us? Probably not. Probably not. For a while, the twins got put back into custody with their great-grandmother, Della. But again, on January 5th, 2010, they landed themselves back in court because they ran away from home. So clearly it doesn't matter where these twins stayed. It didn't matter if it was with their great-grandmother, a complete and utter stranger, or their mom. These twins were out of control. They were f***ing little terrorists, ruining multiple people's lives. It didn't matter who they stayed with, what they were doing. They just decided within themselves as a twin unit, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want to do and no one's gonna tell us any different. So they run away from their grandmother's home, their great-grandmother's home, and they land back in court. And on January 5th, 2010, the judge ruled that they go and stay again with their mother, Nikki. A witness that was in juvenile court remembers that this decision that the judge made on January 5th caused an outright brawl scene. It was reckless in the hallways of the juvenile court. Nikki was there, Taz and Jazz were there, Della was there, and the twins were freaking out about how much they didn't want to be with their mother, Nikki. They refused, they didn't want to go. And at one point, Jazz looked at her mother, Nikki, and said, "If I have to go live with you again, I'm going to kill you." And a week later, Nikki was dead. On January 13th, 2010, one of the twins flagged down a passing police officer, very disturbed, looked distraught, saying, "Please, please come to our home, please come inside, our mother, our mother, our mother. She was attacked, she was attacked." So the officer goes, obviously if you see a young child flagging you down saying your mother was attacked, you're gonna go. So the officer remembers going to the house, and as soon as you get into the house, the officer recalls smelling the blood. Like you could smell the iron in the air. The officer said that it was one of the bloodiest crime scenes they have ever witnessed while being on the job. At the crime scene, both Taz and Jazz were treated like victims. They just found their murdered mother in their home. They were being comforted by officers. At one point, Jazz was asking for her mommy, "I want mommy," as Taz comforted her and said, "It's gonna be okay. I'm not gonna rest until we find out who did this to her." And while they were being questioned by police, Taz had explained to the cops that they found a trail of blood from the living room to the master bedroom to the bathroom, and that it looked like someone had dragged their mom just like it is on TV. They were describing the crime scene as if an unknown suspect had committed the murder when they actually did it. Now, in fact, Nikki was dragged. There was a trail of blood that went from the living room to the master bedroom to the master bathroom. A trail of blood led there. Nikki was found submerged in her bathtub. She was stabbed over 80 times with a kitchen knife, and her spinal cord was nearly severed. The more questions the cops started asking the twins, the more they got suspicious that the twins were lying. So victims are now slowly turning into suspects. Cops asked them how they got to school. They said they missed the school bus. They had to walk to school. The officer was like, "You walked all the way to Rockdale." They were like, "Yeah, we walked all the way there. It's not that far." But security footage on cameras caught the girls walking to a gas station and then hitching a ride with a complete stranger, which is also super dangerous, to their school. The girls said they were about 10 minutes late, but they didn't show up to school till sometime in the afternoon. Midday. So that's lie number one. Cops asked the girls, "Hey, are you still wearing the same clothes you wore to school this morning?" They said yes. But later, at the crime scene, officers would find their bloody clothes in the washing machine. They also found evidence of bleach cleaning up part of the house as if someone was trying to clean up some of the blood. The twins were put in a cop car and they were taken to the police station. Now, in this drive to the police station, Taz was in the back seat biting her own arm. So the officer stops the car and is like, "What the f are you doing?" I mean, obviously he didn't say f, but I'm sure he was thinking, "Bitch, what the f are you doing? Like, why are you biting yourself?" And she said it was just something she did when she was nervous or upset. Bite herself. Okay, sounds pretty normal. Sounds like you need therapy, sis. While the twins were waiting in the interrogation room, an officer asked them, "Hey, like, what can we do to make this more comfortable for you, more easy for you? How can we help you? Because right now, these girls are victims. They're not officially suspects." And the twins were hugging each other and consoling each other. And then they looked at the officer and they said, "Can we watch an episode of CSI?" And the officer recalls the hairs on the back of his neck just standing up when they asked that. And he just knew. Like, he just knew in his gut something is terribly wrong with these twin sisters. And he was right. When the girls arrived at the police station, they were both wearing gloves. If that's not sketchy. I don't know what is. But I mean, it is January and it is cold, so I mean, gloves is kind of normal. Actually, wait, does Georgia even get cold like that in January? I don't know. I've never been to Georgia, but I'm just thinking of the East Coast weather, and in January, even in LA, shit. Sometimes January weather is like, not that hot. You know, not that warm. But they're wearing gloves. So the officers are like, please take off your gloves. So they take off their gloves and they have scratches and they have bite marks. So the officers are like, why do you guys have scratches and bite marks? And they're like, oh, it's from a previous fight we had with each other. And guess what? The cops don't believe you. Nope, sorry. How convenient that you have scratches and bite marks you're trying to hide the day we find your mother murdered. So the cops at this point now don't believe a word these twins are saying, and the twins have become suspects number one. Now the twins try to say that her mom had 2 boyfriends and maybe this was a love affair gone wrong, and that was not the case. Everything that they said about their mom's boyfriends didn't check out, didn't add up. The only thing that made sense was these twins. And cops do a little digging and they realize that Nikki made multiple calls to police about her twin daughters attacking her, crying, asking for help. They also know that they were in court for counseling. So the twins are looking like they're pretty much good for this crime. So when officers in the interrogation room would ask them about their mother, they would be insulting. They basically had absolutely nothing to say about their mother, even in the wake of her death. Now, officers remember the girls crying, but they weren't crying with tears. It was more just like noises. And I don't know if they were pretending and acting like an episode of CSI, or if they were actually like crying because they were scared for themselves. I'm not quite sure. But when I cry, I'm gonna tell you, I got fucking tears. Y'all have seen me cry on my YouTube channel. It's no joke. I fucking cry like a baby. Tears are coming down. I'm weeping. I don't think there's one time in my entire life that I cried where tears weren't coming out of my eye socket, ever. Even if I'm like thinking of like something random in the shower or like a commercial or a movie that I've seen previously and I cry in the shower, I got fucking tears. It's water from the shower and also tears from my mother eye socket. So I think it's just creepy in general that people don't cry. Like I went to the movies once with this girl and I was weeping. It was like a sad movie and she didn't cry once. She just sat there. She didn't even fake to cry. She wasn't doing what Taz and Jazz were doing and like pretending to cry. She just didn't cry. And in my head I'm like, I can never hang out with this girl again because she's definitely a serial killer. So these girls definitely have the characteristics of murderers and psychopaths and potential future serial killers. Even if they didn't kill their mother, I'm pretty sure they were probably heading in a really bad direction. If they didn't kill their mom, they probably would have ended up killing somebody else at some point in their lives because they're fucking psychotic. Back at the crime scene, officers go into Taz's bedroom, and in Taz's closet they find a shoebox, and in the shoebox is a pair of brown boots covered in blood. What's also sketchy is in the shoebox is a napkin, and in the napkin is a clump of hair that was ripped from somebody's head wrapped up in the napkin. Now, I don't know why they would rip hair from their mom's head and stick it in a shoe. I didn't know if they thought they were gonna get out of jail free card and head back to the house and like keep it forever and ever and ever to save the memory of their mom being murdered. But like the whole wrapping it in a napkin and sticking it in your shoe is weird to me. You could have put it in the trash. You could have maybe like thrown it on the street when you were running to flag down an officer. I don't know why Taz felt the need to wrap a clump of her mom's hair that she ripped from her head in her bloody boot that she was clearly wearing when she killed her mother. Idiots. Y'all didn't watch enough CSI episodes because you didn't plan this correctly at all. Now, the police only have circumstantial evidence at this point, which is not enough to hold the twins. So the twins get released back to their great-grandmother. Now, I don't know about y'all, but if I'm Della and those twins come to my house after my granddaughter was murdered, I'm gonna be looking at these twins sideways. I'm gonna be scared to go to sleep. I'm already old and elderly. Now I gotta like think maybe these twins killed my granddaughter and now they're living with me. What if they kill me too? What if I tell them they can't go out this weekend and they decide to chop me up into little pieces too? I'm sure their great grandmother was petrified, but they ended up going back to their great grandmother. And for 4 goddamn months, Jazz and Taz lived normal lives. They went to school, they hung out with friends. Now I don't know how they had friends. I'm gonna be honest with you, if I heard about someone from school's mom got murdered and they were in jail and they could be potential suspects, I'm probably not gonna hang out with you because my mom's not gonna let me. If I have good parents and my parents know who I hang out with, guess what, twins? I can't hang out with you this weekend because my parents think you're psychotic, but for some reason they were hanging out with friends and they even went to prom. Can you imagine dressing up with your twin sister and your prom dresses and going to prom, dancing the night away after you stabbed your mother 80 times with a kitchen knife? Can you imagine how psychotic you gotta be? Dancing the NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Casey and JoJo, having the time of your goddamn high school life while you stabbed your mother to death and nearly broke her spine in two. Psychos. Psychotic twins. People say me and Gabby are crazy, and I'm like, skirt, have you ever heard? Have you ever heard of these twins called Taz and Jazz? Because let me tell you, you can never tell me and Gabby are crazy ever again, because we ain't, alright? Just Google Taz and Jazz, and don't ever fucking call me crazy or Gabby crazy ever again, because we're not. But Taz and Jazz are, and so are their fucking names. For 4 months, these twin sisters, Taz and Jazz, are thinking, damn sis, like we got away with murder. Like we killed our mom and we are getting away with this. Meanwhile, back at the police station, cops are testing the evidence they found and they're building a solid case. Twins, enjoy the time you have because we are coming to get you. So they examined Nikki's dental records and they matched the bites on Taz's arm to Nikki's teeth. So cops came up to the conclusion that Taz was attacking her mom from behind, and in a fight for her life, Nikki bit Taz. And then Taz tried to bite herself in the cop car to pretend it's something she did when she was nervous or upset, but was really to get rid of her mom's bite marks on her arms. Fucking idiot. That was really gonna work for you. Not sketchy at all, you biting yourself in the back of a police car. Detectives found a journal in the Whitehead home where the twins would write and communicate with each other back and forth in the journal. They would talk about how they needed to get rid of their mom now, and if they don't do it soon, it's never gonna happen. They came to the conclusion that these twins, in fact, at some point were going to kill their mom. It was premeditated, it was planned out. These girls were going to get rid of their mom one way or the other. They were killers, murderers. They're psychotic ass twins. There was a bloody path that went from inside the house, outside of the house, into the neighbor's home. So the cops figured out, and the neighbor finally came forward, that Nikki left the house, escaped at some point from her twin daughter's attack, made it to the neighbor's house, rang the doorbell, was screaming and yelling for help. The neighbor did tell the police that he did hear screaming and he did hear his doorbell ring, but he was in bed and he didn't bother to investigate. Now, they didn't name this neighbor, but I'm gonna go ahead and say if this neighbor ever comes across true crime and decides to watch my video, you're a fucking piece of shit. And I hope for the rest of your life you realize that you getting the fuck out of bed and answering the doorbell could have saved a human being's life. But because you're a piece of fucking shit, you're lazy, you're selfish, and if I heard a human being crying for fucking help, what I'm not gonna do is lay in bed and then a couple hours later realize that the house is crime scene, and you could have saved her life and you didn't. So wherever that person's at, wherever her old neighbor is at, I just want you to know that you suck. I hope that the guilt has taken over your entire existence and you're a horrible human being, almost as horrible as these twins, because you could have fucking saved her. You really could have. But the twins dragged their mom back into the house where they finished the most heinous crime and they attacked her until she was dead. So finally on May 21st, 2010, the twins were arrested and they were charged with first-degree murder and an aggravated assault. They both pleaded not guilty, but would eventually change their plea to voluntary manslaughter. The twins were both sentenced to 30 years in prison, but in separate prisons. So those twins can't enjoy prison with each other. Y'all are gonna enjoy prison without each other. Now I'm a little confused how they only got 30 years. I guess maybe because they took a plea deal and it was voluntary manslaughter instead of first-degree murder. But by the time these twins get out, they'll be in their 40s. Now to me, 40 is still kind of young. They have a chance to possibly get out of jail, have sex again, go to a club again, make some money, enjoy each other's company. They can live kind of the rest of their life in some type of normalcy because they get to breathe the fresh air, walk the streets, drive in cars. I don't know how they'll ever get a fucking job because, you know, their record is gonna say, I killed my fucking mother, I stabbed her 80 times and nearly severed her spine. Hire me though, I'd be a great employee. I don't know how they'll work, but the point is, after killing their mother in such a brutal way, these twins are getting out of jail at the age of 40. Insanity. So yeah, that's the end of that story. I don't have anything else to say. There's a few pictures of them from jail currently, and they're both very not attractive human beings, and it's not just because they're murderers and all I see when I see at them is evil, devil-like human beings. That actually could be it. They actually terrify me. Even the ones smiling, like, you happy to be in jail, you weird ass bitch. I just feel like when they get out of jail, who's to say that they won't go back down a very gnarly, creepy path of murder? Because if you have the ability to stab the woman that gave you birth 80 times, what would you do with someone you don't know? You know what I'm saying? It's just fucked up. They should be in jail for life. Anyone who has the ability to kill anyone, especially in a very violent manner, should not be able to get out again. That's just my opinion. But what do I know? The legal system is very bizarre and very confusing. But that is this week's True Crime and Wine. I can see why people get a little freaked out by twins. Not all of us are psychotic psychopaths that are going to kill our mothers, but there is a few crazy twins out there that you should be scared of. Actually, comment below other twins that I should do true crimes on, that I would be interested in doing those. But that was this week's True Crime and Wine. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you drank your glass of wine. I hope that you are kind to your mothers and hug them. I hope you understand that when they're telling you not to do something, it's probably because they know from experience you probably shouldn't be doing that. And yeah, be nice. Don't be killers. It's really like, how do you get here? How did you get this way? How did you become a killer? I don't understand. Give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but as I always say, if you're giving it a thumbs down, you probably shouldn't be on this channel. But if you are going to be here, make sure you hit that bell when you hit the subscribe button, because if you don't hit the bell, you will not get notifications, and if you don't get notifications, what is the point? Subscribe to our Wave channel where we have blogs and story times and much, much more. The link is in the description box, ridethewave.com/thevictortwins/post, and all my social media will be below as well. I love you guys to the moon and back. I will see you next time for a new video of true crime. Be safe. Make sure you have your taser and your pocket knife and your pepper spray everywhere you fucking go. And remember, sometimes it's not strangers you need to be scared of, it's your own friends, your closest friends, or your family. Pay attention to the red flags. If someone is snippy or abusive with you once, they will do it again. Cut them off, and if they're your children, feel free to get rid of them. Because if I had to call the cops multiple times on my daughters, I'm figuring out a way where I am moving out of town, getting in protective custody, and never seeing them again. Because I can promise you this, if I'm a mom, my daughters ain't gonna kill my ass. And these girls clearly had violent tendencies all the way back to the first 911 call. Just wish, I don't know, I wish the neighbor opened the door. I wish Nikki just said, these girls, and moved on with her life and said I tried to turn their life around and they didn't want it, or she just let them do them and just stop giving. Let you fuck up your own life. You want to go out tonight, go out tonight. Whatever happens to you because I tried to tell you not to do that shit and you're not listening. But instead she tried to be a good mom because she didn't want them to live the life that she lived, and they killed her. So very tragic story. Anyways, bye.